Yes, it's a cruel summer once again. This is going to be my review of episode 7. It is called Happy Birthday Kate Wallis. So a bit like at the start of the season we had a Happy Birthday Jeanette Turner episode. We now have an episode dedicated to Kate's birthday. So of course, as normal, it follows her over 3 different years on her birthday. And yeah, it's an interesting episode. It's quite a dark and disturbing episode at times. It sort of does go into some of the trauma Kate had when she was trapped in the basement and sort of kidnapped by Martin. We see a bit more of that, like how he sort of feeds her, how at one point she tries to get out, but also how he makes her feel. And there was like a particular warning at the start of this episode about sort of the themes of grooming, which obviously could trigger effects in some people. So we kind of see more of that, how Martin grooms her, which I'll get to in a minute, but we do. It paints a bit more of a picture, and we see certain things, like we see her in a scene with Mallory at one point where she's trying to remember who Annabelle was, the details of Annabelle. So coming back to that, she keeps listening to like the therapy tape, and clearly Mallory feels this isn't good for her, but something probably quite relatable to victims. And at one point, she's like hanging out with her stepsister and with Mallory, and they're just watching a movie. They rented a movie and kind of getting it, hanging out, and the stepsister is making an effort to like be closer to Kate, be a part of her life. And they're watching this movie, and just like a scene of somebody running it, trying to get out of somewhere, obviously triggers like a bad memory from Kate, and she really sort of freaks out. So there's stuff like that, but I think again what's quite interesting about the episode and about the stuff with Kate and Mallory is she actually has her sort of happiest birthday when she's with Mallory. And again, this oddball sort of friendship really takes off and really is a spark. And Mallory, in her own sort of way, seems to be there for Kate and seems to understand her. And it is one of the gems of this show, that friendship actually makes as much sense as it does, and it just seems to work, and they have like good chemistry as friends. Because looking at some of the other birthdays, there's like the earlier one where Kate goes to the mall and she's there with her friends, and obviously at the time she's dating Jamie, and he, even though they're only 16, he sort of wants to buy her like this sort of like commitment type ring. He's like really seems to be really serious that he's going to marry her in the future, but then he gets all drunk and starts acting up at the mall, and she has a horrible time, which kind of leads her to like Martin offering her a lift home. And again, we see a bit more of like how he grooms her, because her mother has like a big party that evening planned. But there's obviously stuff, and then obviously like the middle birthday, she's obviously kidnapped. But in any case, she does have the best birthday with Mallory. Mallory is there, and she sort of gets them into like the ice rink or the roller skating alley for free, and they're alone there at night. And it turns out Mallory is like the new assistant manager, so that's how she swings that, which is a little stretching credibility. Maybe someone Mallory's age would be assistant, but I guess it's not impossible. And maybe in that sort of job, maybe small town and all that, it's maybe not that unlikely, but it seemed to be stretching it. But it works well enough for the scene, and she's just there, and there's just interesting things with Mallory and Kate's friendship, because again, the mother Joy is just being a total arse in this episode and just putting all this pressure on Kate. And at one point, she's trying to get her ready, and it's almost like everything is about Joy and how she wants to handle it. So she's talking about legal things, she's talking about like throwing on a party to like sort of put your best sort of face on it. And this is where Mallory takes control, and there's something that can be a bit much about Mallory, but you go with it, and because you're on Kate's side, because at one point she's like, that being Mallory, no, we're not going to have any boring legal things today. This is her birthday. It's going to be a sort of a free zone when it comes to that stuff. And she's very sort of blunt and in your face about it, as she tends to be. But I think one scene that really sums up just how Joy is kind of the worst is that there's a scene where she's like pressuring Kate to go on this TV interview, and it's with, I'm assuming, maybe someone who's a famous sort of like talk show or interviewer, Marsha something or other, Marsha Bailey or something, yeah, Bailey I think. And there's this sort of joke because she says, well, she's interviewed President, she's interviewed Whoopi Goldberg, and Kate sort of laughs and, oh yeah, and Miss Piggy that one time, and they both laugh together. Which, obviously it's a funny moment, but then in the next instance, Joy realises that Kate has been getting high, and she's like, well, this isn't a good look for you, Kate, but going on Marsha Bailey, that is a good look for you. And it just kind of sums Joy up, the fact that they have like one moment where she lets her hair down and they have a laugh together, but after that she immediately has to go back to being a bitch and like a hard ass. It just sums Joy up. And I think maybe one thing that, if I'm not so keen on about the episode, is you get the drama with Joy, and I think it's Rod, sorry, the her current husband, and obviously Kate's stepdad, and he's sort of, it comes out then the affair, or when Kate caught Joy with this other guy at the party, and because they get into an argument later, so it's after Martin has driven Kate home, and they get into a fight because everyone's been sent home because Kate showed up late, and it's because of the drama with Jamie, and then obviously Martin had to drive her there, and we see sort of this tactic by Martin, how manipulative he is, because he encourages Kate to let out her secret. And that's what she does in this scene. She lets out that she saw Joy with this other guy on the night of the party, and this gets sort of explosive, and Rod obviously has issues. And then we see later on Rod kind of saying, don't take me for a fool. It's like the next year he says, you cheated on me and I still stood by you, but if you ever like make out that Kate isn't important to me and she's not my effectively my own daughter, then we can't survive that. Like, but I just, some of the drama with Rod and Joy, I just don't find it that compelling. I mean, I'm not sure if maybe it's just then it's a bit, some of it is a bit stereotypical. I think the actors are fine. I just don't maybe find their relationship as credible, or maybe just as engaging as I do like Greg and Cindy. They feel like a very engaging, interesting couple, and I sort of just get into their dynamic a lot more than I do Rod and Joy. It may just be because Joy can be a bit much in quite a realistic way, I'm sure, but there's that stuff in any case. But so we see Kate throughout her birthdays and the stuff with obviously Mallory, but another sort of darker side to it is when we go to like when Kate's trapped in the basement, then Martin kind of tries to blame everybody else for him kidnapping her. Says, before you start like calling me names and that, remember why you're here. And obviously we've seen in the episode this sort of narrative that does lead her to being there. So she sort of, after the fight with Joy, she leaves, she storms out, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But this is before that is revealed, and Martin's kind of like, remember why you're here. And obviously, even if there's like a hint of truth to what he's saying, it's still really sort of nasty and manipulative, and it is blaming everyone else, because regardless of there being truth to it, at the end of the day, he has still abused someone here, and well, I'll get to in a moment, but he has, at the very least, he's like groomed her. We've seen that he's targeted her, and so on that level, definitely, definitely guilty. But the sort of big twist and reveal of the episode is that Kate does at least go to him on her own volition, because after the fight with Joy, she goes to Martin's house because she doesn't feel like there's anyone else to turn to, and she says that I did what you said, I revealed that secret, I got it off my chest, and it led to a big fight, and I don't feel I can trust them or anyone else, so can I please spend the night here? And obviously Martin agrees to it, but this is what comes out, and Jeanette ends up finding out about it, because we see Derek, who's starting to like have a relationship with Kate's stepsister. They sleep together at her place at uni, and we've seen hints of this, and they'd been getting to know each other. But it's when she goes off to have a shower, he wanders over to the computer because he says, can I check my emails? And it's on the computer, this message board conversations that Kate's been having with her stepsister, obviously her stepsister using a different username. But yeah, he finds out about this stuff with Martin. He finds out that Kate actually willingly went to Martin. So he prints it off and takes it to Jeanette, and she's really thrilled, because it's like, well, she went there on her own accord, so we've got proof that she's a liar. And that's kind of how the episode ends. So it is a big reveal, and you sort of sense that there's going to be further twists along the way. But it's also very murky, and it makes Jeanette looks very... On some levels you can understand it, but at the same time, Kate was still a victim in all this, regardless of... Okay, it's maybe not as she painted it because she went there, but we're obviously going to discover more. But at this point, we're still kind of believing that she was trapped in the basement. So even if she went there by her own accord, it does seem then he kept her there against her will later on, and obviously groomed her. That's the big thing. He was sort of grooming her from the start. So yeah, very interesting stuff, very interesting twist, and as I said, pretty dark and powerful episode. So that's Cruel Summer episode 7, that is, and I'll be back with episode 8 soon. So thanks for listening, and I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.